right?
No, his name is something else. Forgot the name.
Oh, this is Anna. Okay, give me 1 second. Um, yeah, Jonathan, any changes? Nothing, right? Friday is a
Nothing much.
fun day. Yeah. Okay. And Sam also busy with his computers maybe today. Tan was there. I think she's missing again. It's okay. So Sam, how is the day going today so far?
Yeah, busy.
Busy? Yeah, man. Now I am here after 9 o'clock, 8:30 onwards. I have to set up our server. Our own
Oh,
software developers purposely did some malware or something, and our
oh
software
boy.
is very slow. Now they are not with us, so our junior team members has to recover everything, put the new database and change it to the Google server. Lots of
That's
going on.
never fun.
Oh man,
Yeah,
shit. I'm not a software developer, but still I have to work with them,
yeah,
at least to
yeah,
motivate them to make sure they are doing right.
yeah, definitely.
Mm. And on top of that, my guy Nalim here, he has some problem. His medicine, he has to take some medicine every Friday. Up to Monday, Sunday, he can't properly see because he has some glaucoma. So he puts some
Oh,
medicine, and doctor meets a doctor, so he can't see. Still, I ask him to go and sleep. He is still there, just to make sure my software everything is working. And again, he's going to be in the meeting for software developers meeting.
wow.
Let him to go and sleep. He doesn't listen. We'll see. Yeah. So today we had to talk about putting some offers, but nobody is ready to put any offers. So what am I to do with this? Yeah, we are just talking, and it's not going to happen. At least for a practice, you should have seen some property and give some offers. Let
Maybe the
them
one
make.
that
Sorry.
Jonathan looked at yesterday, the one that Jonathan had, right? We can think of a fake offer.
Yeah, which one? That student rental?
Uh, Student rental looked more like a single family house, right? Maybe the
Yeah, that
one,
is. Yeah, the
maybe the one that,
20 bedroom one.
yeah, the one that you got from Point to Homes, maybe.
Yeah, something we can give it because the last step in an offer presentation is to give a draft.
Mm-hmm.
So up to the point, fearlessly you can go. Because if you cannot convince a realtor, you cannot convince a buyer seller.
Yeah.
First, you should be able to convince a seller or the realtor and make him put an offer for you guys. Make him show properties and make him send the good deals to you, which is difficult. They can sense you whether you have experience, whether you have confidence, whether you may have down payment, if you can close the deal. So much they can identify, you know.
Mhm.
That's why people say, yeah, if you really want to buy a good car, the expensive one, just go and talk and see whether you can convince the seller.
Mm.
The way you talk, way you walk, way you carry yourself, they should trust that you will buy a property or you will buy a car. That's a big job. Otherwise, even the salesman will chase you away.
Yeah, that's true.
Practice that, After the offer is accepted, then you can decide if you really want to give the draft or not.
Mhm.
Even after you give the draft, you will have plenty of time, especially in commercial properties, Minimum 1 month to 1.5 months, you are going to put the due diligence and many things. One single close is enough for you to get out of the contract with all your deposit money. You're not going to lose anything, but you are going to learn a lot. So definitely you have to do that. Because when you come with the right property, you will not do it. One. Second, yeah, if you yourself do it yourself as a realtor or individual, it's okay. But when you try to go to your realtor, most of the realtors will not put all the clauses and everything. Sometimes they don't know, sometimes they are busy, sometimes they are secretaries or whoever the deal secretaries will not prepare it exclusively for you. They will simply copy and paste from something else, and that will be totally irrelevant for you. Still, they will get it signed and all. So you should really get into that one. And how many conditions you think you may have to put in a commercial property, approximately?
Financing, property inspection,
What else?
and ESA. Is that a condition that you can put?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had to go through a lot. So we will go with a sample exam purchase agreement and see how we can do it.
Mhm.
So we'll share the screen. Okay, we can go straight. And of course, first of all, if you really go with the big commercial properties, most of the time we call that LOI, letter of intent. Your intention go as a letter. It's a non-binding paper. But at the same time, even your realtor or even the selling listing realtor is not just ready to go through all the offers. So after talking to them or after visiting the property, after seeing the basic documentation, whatever available, you can give a letter of intent after negotiating a little bit, so that will show you the basic information. Okay, what price you are planning and what sort of closing date you expect. Is there any particular conditions you are serious about it? For example, a VTB, you can put that. But when you put a VTB condition, before that, you should be able to tame and make friendly with the realtor. That is one important thing. Second, you should build some confidence. Then only the seller will consider. So you have to talk to them, and then you can give the letter of intent. It's non-binding. So if the seller agrees, then you can go back to the lawyer or realtor and you can start the full purchase and sale agreement. Because most of the time, many people try to go to their lawyers. Otherwise, if the realtor is experienced, they can do it. Okay, the second one is offer to lease. Offer to lease is only in lease and rentals, not to purchase. But another one, because mostly they are usually a lease agreement. My commercial lease agreement is about 55 pages. So if I throw that to the seller or the tenant, they will run away. Even it happened yesterday for one of my properties. My realtor put the offer to lease, and that is already with the lawyer. They were going through and everything, and they are fairly ready. But I know after that, I had to prepare my lease agreement and get it signed from the client. This time, and of course, that is indirectly a responsibility of the realtor too in my contracts. So this time, he decided to give that also to the lawyer at the same time, because he wanted to eliminate his unnecessary work. But I told it is too early for that big, bulky agreement. Let them do the first offer to lease first. my realtor didn't agree. He said, no, it's okay. I explained them and the lawyer is waiting. You send it. I sent it. And in 24 hours time, realtor sends a message. They are not comfortable and they didn't get the mortgage, or so they were looking for some finance arrangement. They didn't get it and they are walking away. It's not the real truth, because I know they were ready and the lawyer is ready and everything. But when this bigger clauses goes, if sometimes the lawyer itself would have said something, or otherwise when they see the big bulky thing, the tenant would have thought it is something unusual. It is not unusual. It's usually everybody is doing that. Commercial lease, as I told, is 100% bound by the contract what we are preparing. If the contract is illegal, totally different. Other than that, if the contract is legal, whatever we are writing is binding. It can be renewal or prices or any conditions and all. So commercial contracts are totally directed by the agreement. So it's normal, but it is too early for a lady for the first time who come into this type of business. When we go with this bulky thing, she was a little uncomfortable. So I missed that. So now he is looking for another person. Even then I told, he didn't listen to me. It's okay, it happens, but we'll see. So that is very important. You can go by one by one. Escape clauses are very important when you give some offers, because most of the time you should find some places where you can get out of a contract if situation causes that. And of course, definitely you have to go with lots of conditions. Escape clause is, of course, it is also one of the conditions, but that condition is exclusively for the purpose of escaping from a contract. That's the purpose we put it. So when you go this way, mostly it'll be very easy for you to work around. And so we can show one contract. We can see how we can understand this one. Okay, so this is just a property. It's a commercial property. You see the name is coming Simon somebody within bracket to be incorporated. What do you mean by that? They didn't register a company yet, but they intend to buy the property on a company name. But they didn't even register the company, so they mentioned to be incorporated. And the wife's name or whatever the partner's name also there. So on the closing date or what, at that time, they will change the name of the buyer. Seller is already in incorporation.
Why don't they put and or assigns?
And or assigns?
Yeah.
They can do it, but it is not really an assignment. They intend to buy for
Yeah.
their own purpose. So they want to incorporate their name. But of course, even that assignee name itself enough. They could have done that way. But that is indirectly for a purpose of wholesale most of the time. Or otherwise, partial intention is that either I will buy, otherwise somebody will buy. At that time, they can put it. But when they put that, sometimes some sellers are not happy. Because they may think you are going to come and flip it. They don't like it. Even today, I got another deal. It was sold for about 1.7 million or something, somewhere around 1 month's time, a commercial property.
Okay.
And it's a good price. Suddenly, right after it came to the market, somebody grabbed it. Within 2 months' time or 1.5 months' time, it has been listed for about 2.1 million, my realtor told me, even in this market. It's a good deal. He was watching the market. He was able to jump and got it. And he closed it with the cash, I hope, and put it in the market. Because if he did not close it, he can't put it in the market. If he did not close it, he could have done that assignment, wholesale.
Got it. Okay.
Even that is good, but at the same time, what is the disadvantage in that?
You have to pay double tax, right? If you're on mute, I think.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So double tax is one of the situations, but it doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes single tax, we call that single closing and double closing. Double closing means we are not um, just simply transfer the property to somebody else. First, we buy it our name so that the seller doesn't know that I'm going to sell it again, or if they even know, they won't know that what price I'm going to sell that at. Right?
Got it.
So
Okay.
I will transfer it to my name. The same lawyer, same time, immediately will transfer that or sell that to the other buyer. So at that time, I am paying a land transfer tax. Again, the new buyer is also going to pay the land transfer tax. Only reason I'm going to do that is whenever I make a super profit. And if I don't feel like showing that to the new buyer. And of course, as I told one time, one property, I bought it in downtown. It's a semi-detached. I bought it for 630,000 or 40,000. And he wanted to do a single closing because he was so greedy. So what he did, and he completed everything. He got the draft from me and all. After that, he sent me the balance part of the information about the original purchase that he did, which he wanted to assign. So at that time, I noticed that his purchase price is only $425,000. But I didn't care much about that. But when I go deeper into the estimation, I noticed when I do every work on that, probably I'm going to be losing $20,000-$30,000. Otherwise, marginally, I may get some profit. For that reason, I try to bargain with him and ask him to give a better price, but he didn't give. So I simply walked away. After that, he doesn't give any deal to me. That's a different story, but I don't want even that type of people. But the reason he missed the deal is one, that he showed the price to me. And I noticed that he bought it 425. And of course, I am almost losing or gaining. We don't know, even with experience. Still, I couldn't justify. I'm definitely going to be making a profit. I call my very good experienced investor and builder too. Even then, we were not sure. That's the reason I want to bargain and make sure that profit, a little bit more profit. He didn't give it. But if I did not know his purchase price, sometime I would have taken a little more risk and bought that property. So double closing is good one way if you don't want to show that profit price to the other party. Single closing is advantage because you don't need to pay the land transfer tax. But most of the time, assignment sales, wholesale happens with about $10,000, $5,000, $20,000, $25,000 profit margin. That is a fee they called assignment fee. So when somebody is taking about $20,000 assignment fee, the seller or the new buyer will not worry about it much because that's fairly okay. Because it's a reasonable profit and still you are buying at an under market value. So it's a good deal. Somebody is bringing to you. So they deserve a commission. So nobody worries. But when you make $200,000, of course, you have to be careful. So that's the situation. So yeah, to be incorporated is straight away showing that they are going to put their name and they come up with a company. Sorry, if by chance I don't want to sell it to somebody else, when they come with the incorporation name, I can see who is the shareholder, and if that is not the same person, I can simply say no, I will not sell it to you. Chances are there. When they accept assignee, they cannot talk anything. Okay, so debt and everything is there, and purchase price there, deposit is there, and irrevocability and completion. And completion, other thing, you guys have to put reasonably long a period of closing because so many things will take a lot of time in commercial properties. So definitely, in my opinion, minimum 3 months you have to go for it. Unless you really feel that property is very good, if you give a longer condition or longer closing date, you will lose the opportunity. If you are very 100% sure, you can think something shorter. Other than that, 3 months is fairly important and normal. Okay, so here you can see the other one is chattels included, the containers and one storage shed. So whatever chattels there, we have to particularly mention. And the other one is fixtures included, all tire. Okay, that is something which it's a note that to be removed. And again, rental items. This is another important thing because when you go and buy properties, even if you look for a property or inspect the property 2-3 times, still you will not be sure about what are the items owned, what are the items leased, and everything. If the seller is not an organized person, they may not even have the right information. And simply that realtor will try not to put anything unless he knows for sure something is on lease. So you are thinking that there is nothing on lease and you are going to take over everything free and clear, but indirectly there will be a lease. So you should know exactly um, what items are on lease and everything. One example, when I bought one of the properties, the realtor simply put there is nothing. And I also thought that is because I know the realtor knows this property very well for a long time. So I also thought, yeah, there is no rental equipment. But after I bought it, it's a commercial property. 1 year, one tenant was there, so there was no dispute or anything. After that, I got a letter from Enercare saying the air condition payment has not been paid by the tenant or the previous landlord. So now I had to pay. Just because I did not know, I didn't even take care of that. And even I didn't collect the money from the tenant also. Now the tenant also moved away.
So if the
Again,
tenant signs,
sorry?
if the tenant signs a deal with for some lease,
Yeah.
is the owner on the hook for that?
If the tenant signs a lease on what?
On hot water or whatever.
Yeah, if the tenant signs that, probably the owner is not on hook. But at the same time, if it's a rental property, most of the time that type of equipment tenant alone cannot sign
Cannot sign. Okay, got it.
unless the contractor agrees for that, because tenant can walk away at that time. If the tenant is only a corporate client on his company name alone, the company cannot even go behind their personal name. If the corporate client don't have any assets or whatever behind, the corporation or the leasing company will not have any hold. So if it's a fixtures, if it's expensive one, probably the leasing companies will ask the landlord to do that. But some places, yes, they have to do it. One of my properties, yes, the tenant is there for 10 years plus. So he has to change the furnace, he has to change the air condition and everything. So he buys put and everything under his name. Yeah, that's possible. But after some time, I got another letter saying that furnace is also on lease. I didn't know that. I could have taken a little more measure at that time, but I trusted the realtor and worked, so I didn't do that. So now the agreement is, of course, furnace rental. I cannot simply ask the tenant to pay because it was not in my
How
contract.
can you even find out? Because it's not there anywhere, right? It's not stored. Unless it's
At least you
disclosed, how
can
will you
get it
find?
writing, get the writing from the seller saying this is rent, this is own, whatever. If you can ask them, they are becoming responsible. So that's the only way. Otherwise, you have to check with the Enercare or Enbridge or whatever. If you have any doubt, and sometimes there'll be stickers, and if it looks like new one, you can ask. But whether it is new or old, still it's a bigger job because hot water tank and furnaces and everything, the lifespan is around 15 years. More than the lifespan, the leasing companies, if it is a hot water rental, they will change only after 15 years. So up to 15 years, they will intend to charge you. And even today, I try to put one furnace for one of my apartments. That is about $5,600, 80,000 BTU furnace for commercial. And the price is 5,600. But what I thought is, if I pay that cash, one thing is immediately we have to pocket out. Second one, if there is any issues coming, I have to face it. I have to repair it and everything. But most of the time, furnace don't go wrong. But if that happens far away, I may have to involve. So I decided to go with lease. It is $87 plus HST. And their lease period is 15 years. So can you explain, calculate how much it's going to be? $87 into 12 into 15. $15,660. It is $5,600.
Wow.
Furnace is going to cost $15,660. $10,000 more in 15 years' time. But of course, if I am planning to sell that in 1 year's time or 2 years' time, maybe okay. But anyhow, somebody is going to bear the cost unnecessary. But of course, it has a peace of mind because if there is any issues come after 5 years or 2 years or what, the rental company will do everything. No charges, nothing. That is good. But the amount is really high. But the good thing is, of course, that particular company I worked with, I made sure that I can pay anytime. If I pay that within the first year, I had to pay only 98% of the purchase price, $5,600 into 98%, 5,600 into 98% is what? 5,488. By the time 1 year finishes, if I buy, I can pay $5,448 and buy that. Or even halfway through within the year itself, next month, if I decide to do that, I can do it. So they are not charging anything, but most of the time, once people sign up, they won't go for cancellation and pay back or everything at once or what. So we have to be very careful and we have to put our schedule saying that, yeah, next month we are going to pay off or 2 months time or what, we are going to pay off. Then it is okay. There is no other penalty or anything. But if you let it go, it'll go for 15 years because currently that property, that furnace, it was there, I was paying rent. I didn't even know that. I bought the property because that NAKR bill comes under the Enbridge bill. So we check the Enbridge bill total. Okay, last month, this month, this month, this much. Okay, we increase the usage like that. We are thinking, but I never checked that it includes that hot water tank and again the furnace. So it has been paid by the tenant, the previous landlord, for about a long time, and now I also paid that for the last 1.5 years. Even though that furnace is an old one, the hot water tank was an old one. So when it is old one, again, of course, the utility cost is too much, right? So in 7 years' time or 10 years' time, if we have checked it, we could have replaced that. Otherwise, we could have asked them to clean it or repair it, which is their unit, right? We could have done that. We never called them for repairs or the servicing or anything. So our efficiency would have been much lower. So we would have burned a lot of energy at our cost or the tenant's cost. It was really our cost in my property. So these are the things that we had to really see in the rental. But the other property, what I told, of course, when that NAKR people came and said that furnace is on lease, I had to pay. I said no. I show my purchase agreement. I said there is nothing clear. They put that none. So I showed I purchased this way. You can see the purchase agreement. It is not there. So they understood that. Now they try to go back to the previous seller. So hopefully I will not pay for that. But if that is not there, they may come back to me because they may have original contract saying whoever who buys supposed to assume this one. So it's unnecessary situation. Okay, the next one is HST. In commercial properties, whether it is multifamily or whatever, if it's a commercial property, most of the time, the property that you are buying is the net of tax price. So if you are a taxpayer, if you are a corporation, if it's a commercial property, you have to, whether it is resale or new, you have to pay HST. In terms of residential, if it's a brand new property, you have to pay HST. If it's a resale property, you don't need to pay HST. In commercial, whether it is resale or brand new, you have to pay HST. So whatever the price they mention in the purchase agreement, 575 or what, is just the price. So total I have to pay, or the seller has to pay 575 plus HST. Unless the seller gives us a purchase HST registration. If the tenant or the new buyer gives us the HST registration copy to our lawyer, and if they take over the responsibility saying, yes, we will take care of the tax, then I don't need to collect that and pay that. If they don't have any HST registration, or if they don't have a corporation, most likely our lawyer has to charge HST on top of that. And what happens if my lawyer tells me, yeah, you don't have a corporation and you just came and buy that and tomorrow closing, $500,000, bring that HST also. Then what I will do, immediately I will at least go and register a corporation and get the HST number and give the number saying, yes, we will do the self-assessed HST, so don't pay for that. So that's a worst case scenario. Title search, of course, as you know, all the time, we try to put the title search at least 1 week away from the closing date. So that even if there is any other recent transaction happens, you know exactly there's no issues. But most of the lawyers, if it's a very bigger property or what purchase, even on the closing date, they will try to do a title search again. Okay, the other one is the purpose of the property purchase. It can be commercial, or if it is residential, it's residential. They mentioned that. Okay, future use, of course, nobody can take the representation or responsibility of the future use, or no seller will warranty the future intended use of the new buyer. So nobody can worry about. And the other one is, of course, title. We assume the title is a good and free title to be transferred and registered. But at the same time, now all the lawyers become very lazy and they try to take the title insurance instead of they do the real title search and all the searches. So back into 10, 20, 30 years of trace. Now they don't do that, because when the title insurance was introduced about 10, 12 years back, it was only an option. So the realtor or the lawyer or even the lender may ask, do you like to take a title insurance? If the buyer says no, they cannot compel, because the lawyer's job is to search the title and make sure the title is good. So that is their purpose of it. Otherwise, we don't need a lawyer. So that's their job. So we said simply, no, you do the search and I'm okay. I don't want any title insurance. But the cunning title insurance companies became very smart. They started giving about $150 to $200 around, I think now, to the lawyers who referred them to the title insurance. So automatically the insurance company may charge about $600 or whatever. Then the lawyer will get about $200 kickback. So every lawyer started referring that to and demanding that we need a title. Not from their point of view, from the lender's point of view, because the lawyer cannot simply demand for title insurance, because most of the lawyers are protecting the buyers. So they cannot demand, but they come through the lender's side. They will simply say, the lenders, you demand for the title insurance. When the lender will think, okay, it may be an important thing, then they will say, yeah, we have to get the title insurance, and the lawyer will say, we have to get it. And of course, they are going to get the kickback. So sometimes there are two different titles. So sometimes only for the lenders, we take the title insurance, since the lenders are demanding, and the buyer side, we don't take the title insurance if we are sure about the problem. Then at least some money we can save. But I cannot recommend that to anybody, because that particular buyer who has to take the responsibility or understanding whether he needs a peace of mind or whether he needs to save little. But of course, in an ordinary manner, 200, 300 or 100 or whatever the years of land, very, very few lands are getting title problem. But every time we have to get it. So it's fairly a big game for the lawyers and the title companies, but we can't escape now. It become indirectly a mandatory thing now. Okay, closing arrangement, closing document, discharge, these are the normal things, and inspection. And definitely we have to put the inspection every time we buy a property, because that is where many things can be revealed. And because even though you are knowledgeable, experience of investor, sometimes you may miss many things. So it is always recommended to do an inspection, because especially when you do an investor property with you and other party, you have to secure your interest as well as the other interest. So it's always better to do an inspection. Even new property also has lots of defects. So you should do that, I always recommend. And of course, the insurance, always it happens. And the other one, planning it, document preparation, residency adjustment, limit property assessment. Yeah, these are normal things. Agreement in writing, that's another important. There is nothing verbal. Everything is in writing, is binding. Nothing is in verbal. So that's an important thing. Another one, credit personal. Yeah, that's all about it. And when you go to the Schedule A, the balance conditions are coming. This is where you can see how much you have to look into. You see here, conditions are going 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 17, 21. Yeah, it has 21 conditions. It's not 1 or 2 or 3. So we can just go through, then you will know how to put this in our contract. Yeah, this is the basic condition. As you know, buyer agrees to pay the balance of the purchase price, subject to adjustment as a bank draft or direct certified check. Other one is this offer is conditional upon the approval of the terms hereof by the buyer solicitor, unless the buyer gives notice in writing. So this is a condition for the lawyer. So after the document is given, they are going to give the document to the lawyer, and it is going to go for about how many days? 30th business day. So 30 business days condition is there for the solicitor. So whenever the solicitor say it is not a good property, they can walk out. And we have to give back the money without any deduction. Seller's information, vendor agrees to deliver the following source documents to the purchaser within 5 days. So what are the documents? They ask a copy of existing survey. If I leave it that way, of course, sometimes they can come and demand me the survey. Because since I did not have it and it's a very old building, immediately I said we don't have a survey and deleted that. And the second one is copy of any maintenance of service contracts. So I cut off that because we don't have any service, because every individual unit was handled by the tenant, so we don't have any service record. Other one is, of course, complete billing plans and site specific zoning bylaw. So we don't have that. That also we cleaned up. 2021 TMI common area expenses and reconciliations. Of course, if there is common area, we had to give the snow removal or whatever, the cleaning and grass cutting. We said okay. Copy of 2020 and 2021 tax and financial statement. What can they do with my financial statements? If it's a public company or if it's a bigger company with lots of shareholders, for the transparency, we will be putting all information in the financial statement that may have some meaning for them. But this is owned and operated by one director and one shareholder. So they can do it in any manner. So that is not really something very useful for them. I said we don't have. The other one is copy of the lease agreements with the tenants. I cut it off because I already gave that by the time the negotiation was there. So for that reason, I said I already gave you, so I cut it off. Conditions for the benefit of the buyer. This offer is further conditional for 30 business days from the date of delivery items under the seller's condition. Okay. 30 banking days, they put it. Then I cut off that and put that 30 days. But at the same time, it cut from the banking. So that's the only one I want to cut. It has gone up to the days. So we did a revised. Buyer agrees to arrange a financing on terms satisfactory to the buyer. It's another condition. The buyer, and here you can see this condition is applicable for how many days? We had to give whatever the documents they are asking within 5 days. And of course, this particular condition is for 30 days. They asked for 30 banking days. I made it 30 days. And here, financing condition satisfactory to the buyer, but it doesn't have any conditions. How many days? So if you blank it, keep it blank, that's an open close for the buyer to continue up to the closing date. And even at the last day, he can say, I don't have the financing, I'm walking away. So we had to be careful and we had to put that. I did that 30 days, 20 days, or whatever. The next one, buyer to be satisfied with the due diligence of the subject property sold condition. Yes, this also did not have the date. So we had to check that and put the dates within how many days. Do it. And the offer is conditional upon the inspection of the subject property by sole discretion and expenses. Mhm. Yeah, you see, that also did not have any date. Normally, inspection should have the date. So we put that. And this offer is conditional upon the buyer being able to arrange an insurance on the building. Yeah, insurance, most of the time, people get it at the last minute, one day before the closing, on the day of the closing. But commercial, we had to move a little faster earlier and should have it. But if we don't have a time or date, we have problems. So we all have to put all these dates for this. Because if he don't, then he can simply walk away from that. It doesn't mean that we cannot buy and you get an insurance, right? I am getting an insurance means the new buyer also can get it. But if he says he could not, then how are we going to prove that he could? So it all have to have some ending dates. Buy to get the structural report if required for the management purposes. Yeah, that all have to come with it. And failure by the buyer to waive any of the above conditions at its sole option, this agreement shall become null and void. Okay, so if any of the conditions the buyer don't waive or fail to waive, automatically the contract becomes null and void. So you see, this is to be waived by the buyer. If we don't do it, automatically it goes away. So it has all the rights and privileges to the buyer up to the last day of the closing if you don't have these conditions with the dates. So you see how serious this problem is. Because you may think it's going to be over. As and when the date is getting closer and closer, you may think, yeah, hopefully everything should be done. But you don't know. He may not even do anything. Still, he will get the deposit back. Because it's commercial contract. So contract is contract, so we are bound by that. So we have to be very careful. Okay. The other one, the buyer shall not assume any management contracts or employees, and the seller will transfer the buyer on closing dates. Yeah, you can see that any management contracts or employees of the seller, they don't need to assume. If there is a contract, a management company that we signed up with that management company, property management company, saying, yeah, we are hiring you for the next 3 years, so that for the first 1 year, give us a very deep discounted charges or whatever they may have given on the agreement that we are going to continue with them for 3 years. In between, if I sell, that particular management company can expect me to transfer their contract to the new buyer. And the new buyer may not like it. And especially when the new buyer put a clause like this, I can simply transfer that. So now either I have to accept this contract or cancel this clause, or otherwise I have to go back to the existing management and say, I want to cancel that, how much it's going to cost. Then if they tell a reasonable price, I can absorb that and let it go. Otherwise, I have to bargain with these people and ask them to take over. And if these people say, I have enough people to manage, I don't need, then what can I do? So we have to see about those. And seller will transfer to the buyer on closing any warranties and guarantees for the labor and material for the contractors having done work on the property. For example, any renovation, basement or roof or whatever, if you do, you have to have the warranty, and it all has to be in a proper filing or what, because the new buyer will expect that. So you should be able to transfer that. So that's why the commercial property purchases, it's a business. It is not just a transaction. So that's why we need a team. Either it can be a team of experts or team of subcontractors or team of your own people as partners. Whatever the way, if you want to grow, you better have. And this offer is conditional upon the buyer obtaining at the buyer's expenses and environmental site assessment satisfactory to the buyer in the buyer's sole absolute discretion, unless the buyer gives notice in writing delivered to the seller personally or in accordance with any other provisions for the delivery of notice of this agreement of purchase, and any schedule thereto no later than 45th, he put the business day I cut off that and said, no, only days, not fixed days. After the acceptance of this offer, that this condition is fulfilled, this offer shall become null and void, as you know. The seller agrees to cooperate in providing access to the property for the purpose of this environmental site assessment. This condition is included for the benefit of the buyer. It can be waived by the buyer's sole option at any time without even doing this one. Okay, the seller covenant. The seller is a resident of Canada within the meaning of the Income Tax Act. Why this is coming? Actually, if by chance I'm an overseas seller, then the capital gains or the profit tax has to be taxed at source. So the lawyer will become responsible to pay that, charge that, and pay back to the CRA. But if it is a foreign buyer only, if it's a local buyer, that problem is not there. So this is not really a problem of the buyer, but the bloody hell, this buyer has enough experience and knowledge, so he put that condition here, so that even if the solicitor fails, he will not even have any problem for that reason. The other one is a seller is a valid subsisting corporation under the laws of Ontario. Yeah. And the other one is it has a full power and authority to accept offer and to perform the obligations under this agreement, and entering into performance of this agreement do not conflict with or breach its articles of incorporation bylaws. See, because sometimes some articles will have some restrictions for the seller. Sometimes the seller means what? Who is the director? Most of the companies, incorporated companies, if their hair is about 2-3 people, most of the time, all of them will be shareholders, all of them may be directors. But in some instances, all of them may be shareholders, but only few may be directors. In that case, the signing authority is only with the directors to buy and sell. So the other shareholders will not do anything. But in that article, the other shareholders may have put it, or in the shareholder agreement of somewhere, they may have mentioned the director shall not have any authority to sell this property without the written condition or the written permission, whatever, from the shareholders. Or they may have put that seller shall not sell this property for the next 10 years. So if it is contrary, and if the seller act against these articles in breach, of course, he cannot do it. If he does that, that is illegal again. And the other one is there is no action or proceeding pending or threatened that questions the ability of the seller to perform its obligations hereunder, or the title of the seller of the property, or the zoning on which the business is located is such to permit the operation of the current or use of the intended things. The other one is, of course, seller has not received any notice of violation of any applicable federal or municipal laws, regulations, orders, or approvals, and injunctions, orders, judgment, outstanding, or lawsuits, claim proceedings, or investigation. But this ones, of course, by the time the lawyer searches, if there is anything on the property, the lawyer will tell. The proper lawyer will take care of ourselves properly, but at the same time, something can be told by the seller. All systems of the property, electrical, mechanical violation, air conditioning, plumbing, heating, roofing, equipment, chattels shall be in good condition at the date of closing. And there are no work orders or deficiency notices outstanding against the property. If so, it will be completed at the seller's expenses before the close. Any mortgage or liens on the other encumbrances registered against the property will be discharged or no before. Of course, without discharging, the title cannot be transferred. The property is to best of the seller's knowledge is in compliance in all material respect with all applicable laws, rules, regulations, ordinances, and standards, including but not limited to the environmental and civil rights, occupational safety and health hazards, and substances and zoning laws, and building and fire codes. Again, the other one is the fire code. because most of the time you should be able to get a fire retrofit, we call a fire marshal's letter saying this building is okay in fire code terms. So it is okay to get the fire insurance. When we go for the new property, when we try to get the fire insurance, sometimes some insurance company will ask for that. And if we don't have that, it is difficult. And if we don't have it, and if the insurance company asks for it, then we may have to do it by our cost. And it may cost, but at the same time, if we don't have that condition, sometimes the seller may not rectify that and give. Then you have to spend your own, or otherwise the deal will fall through too. So it's better we ask that one. The lands are free and clear of any local improvement charges, and will be free and clear of the local improvement charges on the completion of the property. Okay. Yeah. And it's filing of the Ministry Revenue Corporation Tax Branch Revenue current. These all are none of his business. Tax and Revenue Canada are in current and paid in fully by the seller completion, because that is the seller's responsibility, seller's corporation responsibility. The new buyer is not going to be responsible for that, but still he put that much. And the seller warrants that it will keep the premises insured until the completion of the sale. That's another thing. And the other one is evident of the damage. In the event of damage of the building equipment before the completion, the transaction, the buyer shall have the right to elect to take such proceeds and complete the purchase or cancel this agreement. Okay. The property has not abandoned or unused heating oil tanks. This is another important thing, because sometimes there may be, if it is a pure commercial property, you may have something. The other one, vendor warrants that he does not have any dispute with any of the tenants or whatever. If there is any pending conditions or litigation, collections or whatever, we better tell that. And the seller will provide the buyer a list of the contact names and addresses of telephone numbers for all suppliers, maintenance companies, garbage removal, and landscaping, all companies and entities. Okay, that's important, so that they can easily take over the responsibility. Vendor shall deliver the purchaser on closing an executed election for HST. Actually, the buyer has to give it to us, but here the seller is putting to us too. If the buyer don't need to pay HST, he has to give that, not me, but he asked for it. The seller agrees to discharge any liabilities of any towards his present to the previous employee or worker. Okay. The seller agrees to leave the premises on a clean condition on closing. This an assignment of each of these lease of the building. Yeah, we have to assign that. So it's another small form. We will fill it up and give it with the signature. Then we have to get the same signature from the buyer, so the leases can be assigned, assignment of leases. Any post-dated checks in the vendor's possession. For example, first and last check is taken by the seller, means previously, then the last month check we may have to give back to them. Other one, all keys to the building in the vendor's possession shall be given. Notwithstanding the completion date set out in the agreement, the buyer and seller may, by mutual agreement, 30 days prior to the closing date, in writing to extend the date of the completion of this agreement. Only good thing is they put 30 days prior condition. So not 1 week before he cannot ask that, but 30 days before he can ask, saying these conditions are not filled or whatever, and mutually they can agree. Seller agrees to clean up the property and upkeep the landscaping and moving and closing by the closing date. And the other one, yeah, that's all, guys. So now you tell me, did you ever think this much of clauses?
This is a lot.
Yeah, but that is important. Yes. Yeah, so it's a very good discussion, but at the same time, it is fairly the realtor's responsibility, or otherwise your lawyer's responsibility. if your lawyer knows very well about a real estate transaction, commercial real estate transaction. But even though it is their responsibility, they will try to cover everything through the title insurance only. So we better know the realtor knows exactly what they are doing, and at the same time the lawyer. Then we can be assured. So now you may understand why a great team is important in real estate commercial transactions. Even after that, if you're buying a property, you can put the realtor can put all these clauses and give. Now the realtor is not going to work on this. Now you have to clean up everything one by one, right? So how much of job is that, and how much of knowledge you need that? So as a fresh real estate investor working somewhere part-time or full-time, you cannot simply execute everything. So probably you need a team. Yeah. So that's how it is working. So that's why I told, if you want, you just start and give an offer and see how it is taken by the other party and whether it is accepted or not. Try your best and go ahead with that. So that's all about our purchase, offer to purchase. But that's a basic structure. But at the same time, as I told, when you decide to give an offer, you should be able to convince the seller, your realtor first, and your realtor should be able to convince the selling realtor based on your experience or the team members or business partners or previous history or whatever. Again, the seller should be happy and should get some confidence that you guys will be closing the deal. Because you see, one deal will take about 3 to 4 months. After that, if they come out of that without even losing their deposit, how much of a problem the seller going to have? So it's very, very important. That's why the sellers also make sure that the buyer is good buyer, smart buyer, capable buyer or not. Otherwise, they will not try to give that. So do you have any other question regarding this?
And I put a question in the chat.
Okay. And the other thing, when you go for this negotiation or giving an offer, most of the time people try to negotiate the price. The price negotiation is not at all a bad thing. It is, of course, important. You should not give over price or anything. But more than the price, you should be able to make sure this deal is good for you and it's going to really give you profit, whatever you expect, cash flow or capital appreciation or whatever you expect. And at the same time, that offer should really help the seller as well. Because the seller may be expecting a quick sale. Then if you can give a quick sale, he can give you a better price. Or sometimes he may be expecting a higher price. Then you can ask a long-term closing, 6 months closing. So you are also benefiting, they are also benefiting. And if you understand why this seller is selling, and if you understand how you can help that seller, then automatically you are going to get what you really want. Most of the time, people negotiate on the same terms, same things. Buyer also the same, seller also the same. Then how come it's happening? Because you want a lower price, he wants a higher price. Then the deal is not going to go through. You know the property is good. You know it's going to develop in value. Even then, you are budging on the price. And the seller needs that much of money to pay off or settle or whatever, or he exactly knows this property is worth that much. Then why are you fighting on the same condition, same point? You can find something else. Automatically, indirectly, you are bargaining, but at the same time, you are helping the seller so that you are going to be in their good books. Then you can ask VTB or whatever, things like that, and chances are more for him to consider. So it is a very, very important strategy for you to do that. Definitely, you have to talk to the selling agent, and your agent should be able to talk to them. Sometimes you should take some chance to talk to the selling agent. Most likely, they will not let you do it. And sometimes you can ask even, can I talk to the seller? If you can get some chance to talk to the seller, at least you will be able to disclose your intention and your personality and things like that. Sometimes the seller may consider. something, even though the selling agent don't like it. So it won't happen all the time unless you can make it in a right manner. So even if you meet them or not is secondary. If you can, it is good. But even otherwise, you should know why the seller is selling, what is their situation, how serious is he, whether he has a mortgage or what sort of mortgage. So like that, you should really understand everything about the seller. Then it is easy to make an offer or whatever. So that's how we try to do this negotiation and submitting an offer and make it happen. And
So,
again, we put some, yeah.
so without talking to the seller, how do you discuss VTB and all that stuff?
It is not that you must always talk to the seller.
So
Seller,
the discussion of VTB is through the realtor.
yeah, because your realtor should really understand VTB is something, a good thing for the buyer and even for the seller. If we can understand that, and if we understand, yes, if there is no VTB, probably you're not going to go ahead with this property, then he may get some heat up because he's going to lose 2.5% commission. And if he can convince some VTB, then he can win the deal. Then he will be able to talk to the selling agent. Again, it's another job for us to, or the realtor, to convince the selling agent and explain the VTB is something good for the seller as well. One of the properties we recently checked, no money, no down, no mortgage, 100% paid out property. 12 years the seller was owning the property, and they are selling that for a medical reason. So they are not probably going to use all the money for the medical. It's about $500,000 property. So maybe they spend about $100,000 maximum because medicals are free in Canada. But of course, they don't want any property and responsibility, so they want peace of mind, so they are selling. So they are probably going to park the money somewhere else. But when we talked to the selling agent, he was not ready to talk to even the listing agent. I tried to approach the same listing agent. When I talked to him, and he said, initially he told, yeah, probably they will not give. And again, they said medical reason only they are selling and they will not do it. But once I got to know it is medical reason, I am more firm in this VTB because they don't need all $500,000. So we can definitely get about $50,000 to $100,000 VTB if we give a good rate. And if it is really a medical reason, one good thing or one thing they may expect maybe a quick closing. So I'll give a quick closing and let them give some VTB. So I'm solving their problem. They are solving my problem. Nobody is losing anything. So that is the way we had to check. So for that, yeah, as you asked, your agent should work with you first, and your agent should be able to talk to the other agent. Then we go the other side. So it's a negotiation, but if you take the VTB story the first time itself, sometimes it won't work. So you have many other things to understand about a deal. First of all, that should be a deal. That's an important thing. You should really feel, yeah, it's going to give about 100% capital appreciation in 2 to 3 years' time. Only additional work I have to do is about $50,000 renovation or whatever. So if you understand it's a great deal, even if you don't get a VTB, if you are really going to get that property, then only it's worth to discuss about a VTB. Just because somebody is going to give VTB, don't buy a property. Just do the assessment. Okay, seller is not giving VTB. I have to put out my own money or my partner's money. Are we ready to buy this property still? If the answer is yes, then you think about the VTB, because VTB, as I told, it's only a strategy. So strategy comes only when you have a problem. Your problem is down payment. So at that time, the strategy can come, but that will not affect your decision making of buying or not buying. Many people do that. Just because somebody is giving VTB, they try to buy that. So we have to be very careful on that. So as long as you convince, you will get it. But it's okay. As I told, if we don't, even if the deal is good, if the investor seller is not giving VTB, you should be ready to walk away. If you are firm in your readiness to walk away if there is no VTB, then only your negotiation will show some firmness towards the seller. Then only they will feel that, okay, we are going to lose this if I don't give any VTB, because you are giving good thing, whatever he expects to him, quick closing or full price or whatever. Then if you are not firm enough in the negotiation, they will think, yeah, I got the good price and good closing date. Now I can get the full money. Why should I give VTB? Because you are very lenient on everything. You can't bargain like that. So you are giving two other things, and then you are going to get one thing for you. It's not going to affect them. So yeah, that's the reason you had to see whether there is any mortgage, or how long is the mortgage, is the private mortgage, or paid off property. What are they going to do with the sale proceeds? These all should be clear for you guys. So commercial purchase, bigger purchases are not a one-day transaction. It's about 1 to 2, 3 weeks negotiation minimum. Yeah. So that's how it is going. Okay, here one question is there. Tell us who are the team members should be. It really depends, because you have to identify your skill and the capacity. Skill is one, the capacity is one, because skill means, of course, you know exactly what's supposed to be done in property management or property maintenance and renovation, or the legal side of tenant eviction or whatever, or finding good tenants, or even finding good investors, or finding the good contracting team or mortgage or whatever. So you should identify what you are really good at. Then you should identify what else are required here. And that's why we split regularly our multifamily coaching into 10 pieces. So operation is there, financing is there, down payment arrangement is there, finding a good property is there. So like that, we bring it in 10 pieces. So out of that, what is the most suitable one for you, that you can do it with the highest caliber and you will not compromise anything? Then all of other things you can consider to bring a team member. And that team member can be a paid employee or subcontractor or a business partner. It can be, depends on the situation and depends on the size of the deal. You can decide. If I buy a property about 40, 50, or even 20 plex of unit now in 2024, I will definitely buy only if I have a property manager who can take care of the property. And I will buy only if I have a partner who will have the full knowledge on maintenance and renovation. Renovation is one, maintenance is the other one. Renovation means, of course, some sort of construction, plumbing work, and everything. But the maintenance is after that, of course, some plumbing burst or whatever, electrical, things like that. So I don't expect him to do the work, but at least he should be able to coordinate the work, and he should be able to find the contractor or get some quotation and finalize that and make sure that things is happening. So I really want to do only two things: raising capital. Second one, finding the good property and bargain and buy that, because that is my passion. I like to visit the properties and check the properties and negotiate. I like it. And raising capital is, of course, my knowledge and experience and past job. So I can do that. So only those two I really want to do it. So then I will select any number of team, and I'm ready to share any number of profit as it's suitable, and I will work for them. Otherwise, I'll find some contractors. So I'll ask, okay, property management company, I'll negotiate with them. Are they going to charge 10% or 7% or 5%? And if they are living closer to that particular building, then I can negotiate in another way. I can say, yes, I will pay you only 5%, but I will give you profit share, capital appreciation when do refinance or even when we sell. So we don't need to worry too much about the property, and the maintenance will be okay. And tenant eviction and everything will be okay. So if it is a realtor, he can take care of the lease side properly. But at the same time, after a property is purchased, lease agreement is not the only thing. It is a total tenant management. So if the realtor is not experienced in that landlord tenant board on T4, N4, N4, N12, and everything, no point of give that responsibility to that realtor. He can do only one thing, bringing new tenants. So that is not enough, because tenant eviction is another big job. Then we have to give it to the lawyer for that, and they are going to charge about $1,000 to $1,500 for each file. It's not a lot of work, but they charge that much. So if the particular property management company can handle that to the certain extent, then it's okay. And maintenance is another thing. Or if it is only a single property, we don't probably need a property manager, maintenance manager. But if your team member can do that, that's perfectly okay. And if he's living closer to the property, you can be in Toronto, you can buy a property in Ottawa. So you can get one investor partner from Ottawa side. And if he is good in renovation, it's perfect. The guy who joined yesterday, someone or Sam, or he is from Ottawa area. So if I buy a property, if he is really capable and available, if he can bring some investment, I can take him as a business partner. But if he doesn't bring that investment, then I don't know whether it is a good idea to take him. Of course, he knows his job. Even then, I will question whether it's a good idea to take him, because he doesn't have any vested interest if we don't put any investment. And of course, he is working full time, so he may not have enough time to do this. So what's the point of taking somebody as an investor? Rather, I can get a paid person, right? Paid manager, few hours of work, I can just pay hourly and get that things done. So when we try to bring some team, you have to ask what sort of team it is. Is it a hired team, subcontractors, or investor partners? If they come as a partner, investor partners, some investors don't bring cash, that is okay. If they really bring other values. When I do that, of course, I do all the management. So, and I bring good deal and try to bring some VTB. So in that case, most of the time, I don't try to put down payment or the investment. And if I have, I will put it, because if I put that, and I'm going to get profit share for that as well. That is the beauty of putting money into the deal. Because whenever I structure a deal, I will tell, okay, this property I'm bringing, it is under market value. It has potential upside of this much, and I'm bringing some VTB. So I bring a lot of things to the table. And of course, I'm going to manage the property hereafter. So I am taking 50% equity, and the balance 50% equity I'm going to share with those who bring that capital. And for example, if it's a $1 million property, we may need $250,000 capital, plus another $50,000 for closing cost and renovation. So $300,000. So that $300,000, the potential investors are going to bring, and they are going to take 50% of the profit. Sometimes I will say, no, it's a bigger deal. I take only 20% or 25%, 75% I am distributing to the investor partners. When I distribute the investor partners 75% profit or 60% profit, the total investment 300,000 is going to be introduced by the investor partner. But if I have about $50,000, I don't mind putting that. Why? If I put that $50,000, I'm going to share the profit. That 65% profit is going to be shared by myself as well, because I put $50,000. And on top of that, for 35% or 25% profit is going to come to me, because I brought the deal and I'm managing the deal as a general partner. So whether you have experience or not, if you can put some down payment, definitely it's a good idea, because sometimes investors feel comfortable, but at the same time, you are also going to get some profit share. That's perfectly all right. So this is how the syndication works. Generally, a good deal, we try to share about 65 to 75% to the investors. Depends on the amount of investment they bring it, the form they are bringing, whether it is debt capital, equity capital, or closed capital, whether it is going to be there for 5 years, 7 years, or anytime they can withdraw. Based on that, we try to give the percentage. So this is how we try to do that. So that is how the team is set. So probably um, in a multifamily deal, you may need a property manager. Sometimes if it's a bigger properties and bigger portfolio, when you grow, you may have some asset managers. And again, you may have to have some uh, people who can really take care of the legal side. Mostly that is a paralegal is good. Otherwise, the property manager should be experienced. So only thing is, you try to avoid doing many things. One reason, you don't have enough time. Second reason, you will not have the full expertise on that. Then you are going to do a substandard job. And that is going to be impacting on the property and the profitability. So why should you do that? Even I made a mistake, when I bought the first property, I was busy and I didn't really collected the rent or even start the eviction process for about 7 or 8 months time. The tenant did not pay me the rent 7 months, and the buyer or the seller did not even tell me that this particular seller, the tenant, is in eviction. He did not eviction, has not been paying the rent for the last few months, even before the sale. I didn't know that, but he gave the lease agreement. I thought that they are okay. But only after I got the possession, I noticed that yes, this lady did not pay me the rent, or she did not even pay the rent to him. I was waiting, and I was busy, so I didn't care much. And after 7, 8 months time, I started talking to her and demanding her the rent. And COVID time, she put some block on that and things like that, and she moved away. She didn't even pay. At last, what I did is I removed the electrical connection. I cut the hydro. I can't do that really. But at the same time, that particular building, each unit has its own hydro. She's not paying rent and she's not paying hydro. I am paying for that too. Because the previous tenant, even though the hydro meter is there, he did not charge from the tenants. So I just cut the line and told you go and connect it. And she didn't connect it for about 2 months. And after that, she left. So the why that problem happened? Because I was busy, so I didn't concentrate from the day one. And of course, if it is my passion, I would have jumped on that immediately. If I am very good in tenant eviction, and if that is the one that I always like it, I would have looked for that opportunity. If there is any tenant paying, not paying rent, so that I can start my passionate job, right after I purchase the property. But this is the least interested job for me, so I just kept it away, and it impacted me big time. And again, another tenant did not pay even more than that and damaged the property, because that is not my piece of cake. I should have given to somebody else. But I decided to learn everything because as a coach, I wanted to, but it's a expensive lessons. Yeah, so understand the team of people, but when you select team, you see their experience as well. It don't have to be everybody should learn from the process here. Somebody should come with that experience, then only it's easy for you guys. You have to find at least one of the best. Then it is easy to grow the team and the business and the portfolio. Yeah, even for that, of course, you should have some idea and interest and your own goal of the portfolio, what you reach and how and when. Then only you will do that. That's why we try to put the 90-day blueprint and things like that. But whatever we do and tell, this market is somewhat, for many people, not motivating. I can't blame that. But at the same time, opportunities are there. If you have enough time and passion, you can still look for lots of opportunities. And of course, you're going to buy only one. I don't promote that to buy more than one and without learning to get more into the hats. That's not the purpose. Okay, guys. So probably there won't be any homework, and we said that tomorrow no training, but at the same time, um, Sunday we thought of doing that, 7 p.m. Otherwise, Monday. Sunday is the one we agreed, right? Yeah, we can have that on Sunday. That's a mortgage arrangement. Mortgage arrangement is another thing. Probably it is also definitely another team member's job. You can learn, you can understand that, but you are not going to do that. So it's as long as you have a good mortgage broker, commercial mortgage broker, you are okay with that. Only problem, the good mortgage brokers will be busy with other buyers. So now you have to go through some referrals, or you should really show your interest and seriousness and capacity. Because if you go and talk to them that you are going to do zero down, some mortgage brokers don't like it. Some mortgage brokers don't trust that you will complete because you are new. So they may not sometimes work with you. So find out how you can do that. So mortgage is not very important thing to master. You have to master many other things, because underwriting and all, if you don't have anybody else, you have to do it, because you cannot appoint an underwriter. There's no underwriters for sale or underwriters for assignment. There are, but not a lot. So you will not find the right one, or you will not do it. So that is your passion indirectly, buying properties, then you better learn that. Mortgage, yeah, just find out and get some good network, keep enough people around you. That's enough. Okay, guys, so Sunday we can meet. Any questions, we will talk about it. And I think there was a new participant. Who is that? Anna. Anna, you are late, I think. So how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Yep, fine.
Okay, any questions?
Is the record of the previous day that I missed available?
I will check with my manager. He will contact you, Anna.
Because every time I log in, it say recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was busy with work and I missed. So please, if it please available, please email me the replay and I will find time in the evening to watch it.
Yeah, I will check that. Yes, we'll check it up. Normally we give that to all the VIPs. I'll check it. Okay, guys, 8:30. I have another meeting. It's going to continue for 2 hours, I think. We will see you on Sunday. Okay, take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.